Hi, I'm Paul Summers. Welcome to How to Write a Memoir, the timeline for digitally dysfunctional baby boomers and Gen Xers. Now, I don't say digitally illiterate because a lot of us know what we're doing somewhat, but we just don't have a lot of experience using the different social media platforms to accomplish what we'd like to accomplish in this digital age, which is not going away. So part of why I've put this together is because I believe there's a lot of people just like me out here who are trying to ramp up their business or getting content out, and it's perplexing. And if I've spent a year doing this, learning how, making the errors, then I'd like to share that with you so you don't do the same. So anyway, I believe in you. I believe in you. And when I say that to you, it means I believe in me. All right, so what we're going to start with is the timeline. The timeline's an important piece. Part of wanting to put a timeline together first, and this is why I made it the first lesson, is because it's going to give you as a writer, memoir or fiction, nonfiction or fiction, it's going to give you as a writer a nice. It's going to give you a nice framework for being able to recall the events which you'd like to recall. So it's different from fiction in that this is your personal story, you're remembering it, and you need to make it engaging for the reader. So by doing the framework first, you'll be able to pick up on events, recall events, and have an outline. Writing a book is a big deal. It's a time-consuming, energy-consuming, sometimes soul-consuming, undertaking, that's the word I want. And it's so thoroughly satisfying. And what I'm trying to help you do is make it the best you can. That you can make it. All right, so I'm going to start with an actual timeline. And we're going to look at the one I created. All right, so I put this together about a year ago, so I apologize that it is very used. The cats seem to find their way up here. Well, they don't seem to, they do. They find their way up here all the time, and so they like to lay on my outline, but I've written my memoir, and I have this out. It's a guide piece for me. So what I did is the main event which occurred, and I'll go into that later, is June 26th. Now, as you can see as I back out, that is roughly about 2/3 of the way into this timeline. I'm going to talk later about a creative arc, and it's going to make sense as to why I started there. I originally began my memoir at that date, which was the date that everything changed for me, okay? And like I said, I'm going to get into these details later, but I just want to show you this. So I go back about 3 years. And what I did is I went through and made listings of different events that I thought would be important to the reader, or at least for the framework shell of the memoir. And this was added to over the course of about 3 months. It was added to as far as like my remembering different events which occurred. Okay, so the crucial one here is my retelling of some events and listing those. So I go forward about a little over a year. Okay, The next step that I did in the timeline was I went through old journals. And now if you don't journal, that's okay. I'm going to give you another tip in a moment. What I did is I went through and I color-coded a bunch of tabs as far as different events which were spoken of. So I had a lot of reading I had to cover, going back in time to important events, and some of them weren't. So give yourself some time. This is a time absorbing process. I don't know how else to put it. But what I did is, so like this is number 3, okay? And this was for the sake of being able to find things easier, because what I did is I devoted some time. Now, as you'll see here, you got like a number 3, 25 things assignment, epiphany. Okay. Now on my timeline, that's written out. It's got a number 3, which means I got it from this book, number 3. And then I can go to the tab, and they were color-coded for different reasons. Go to the tab, and that way I could go right to reading it as I was writing the memoir. So this is like some prep work that needs to be done ahead of time. I did want to say, I told you I was going to talk about, if you don't journal, if you're not a person that journals, or you can't grab that information from your past, you can look at old emails. So as a further quick note, go through old emails, and that may spark some memories. This is why I definitely wanted to focus on my age group, boomers and Gen Xers, because a lot of us have full lives. We're raising kids. We might have grandkids, full-time employment. We have a lot on our plate as it is, and dedicating ourselves to writing a memoir that's important to us is going to be a time-consuming undertaking. It's going to involve a lot of recall, and if your brain's like mine, that's going to be a difficult step. It's going to have challenges. And so I've come up with different ways to help those memories along. Okay, so one of them I just mentioned was going through journals, and like I said, go through emails, and you can go back however long you've been with a certain carrier of emails, and some of those may spark memories. All right, I got another one that most people don't think of. Okay, and here it is. Another tip that I have not seen anybody do is look at old receipts. Now, I saved my receipts, so however far back you got to go, this is recent, which has nothing to do with my memoir, but for the sake of display, and there's a little plug for Willamette Writers. So you could find a receipt like this and go, oh, that was the night I met so-and-so, the author. A receipt is going to spark a memory of an event, so if you have saved your receipts, that's great. Look through them. It's going to spark memories. You'll remember a trip to an ice cream stand, or how you had to buy something to clean up a mess that was left after a fight. I don't know. Whatever your memoir is about, there's going to be receipts during that time period that you're writing within that are going to spark memories that you may not off the top of your head have. So it's a great tool. If you don't save your receipts, you could look at bank statements. Look at bank statements from that period, and they, depending on the purchases that you made during that period, you will find memories. All right, that's most of what I have to share. I did think of one other thing. Phone records. Okay, nobody in this younger generation has any idea what that means, which any of us over 40 remember phone records. Anytime we made long distance calls, those were on those phone records. If you've saved those, that would be another way to look up the time frame that you're writing about. A suggestion in writing a memoir, unless you're famous, which you're probably not here if you're famous, is to minimize your time frame. What was told to me was that if you're not famous, like I said, then nobody wants to read about your entire life if they don't know who you are. And I agree with that. I think that you would probably agree with that as well. So what you want to do to make it interesting, there's going to be an interesting aspect of your life that was important enough that you feel motivated and propelled enough to write about, that you want to share with the world. And again, I commend you for doing. This is an undertaking, and it has filled me with so much. It's a wonder-taking. How's that? It's filled me with so much wonder. So I'm going to leave you with this. Bye, Molly. Okay. I appreciate you clicking on my site, on my video, giving it a chance. I'm going to get into a lot of different ways that you can get yourself out there as an author. I'm sticking with the genre of memoir for baby boomers and Gen Xers because I believe a lot of us have had difficulties understanding the ever-changing digital world, and so I call it digital dysfunction. So, like I said, I appreciate you being here. Please leave comments down there. I'm going to put some links that will help too from other great sites that I've found. And if you feel that, I mean, if you have a question like what's a link, you may have that question. That is not a question to be ashamed of. Like I said, we all grew up in a totally different world. I have 3 teenagers, so I have the input, the useful input from them. And if you haven't been a part of this digital world, I'm here to help. That's what I'm here for. Please leave questions. Please leave comments. Please visit my blog at paulsummersjr.com. And on to the next lesson.